How important are Web3, AI, and the Metaverse to opportunities for future economic growth in Africa?
Amazing. Let me welcome David Palmer. It's a pleasure to have you here. I've met you in Dubai, but what a better stage than being here in Africa.
Definitely.
David is the CPO at PairPoint by Vodafone. I'll leave you in the amazing hands of David. Thank you. Round of applause. Come on, everyone. Let's get some energy. It's David on stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Great presentation before. I want to talk to you about the opportunities from Web3, AI, and the Metaverse for Africa. And I thought the presentation before was amazing because what it's showing is that you can create business out of new technologies. How many people here hold a cryptocurrency? How many people have a wallet? How many people have heard about the increase in the price of Bitcoin? Okay, all right. So I want to really talk to you about some of the changes in the world, and I advise you really to listen to this because I believe that we're at a point where things can really change for this region. So what's happening globally? So we have 8.1 billion people going up to 8.5 by 2030. Mobile phone penetration in the world has gone up, so we're going to have virtually over 90% penetration of mobiles. IoT devices are increasing, and interestingly, by 2030, there's going to be 56% of the world's population with a digital wallet. 56% with a digital wallet. Blockchain users, there's over 320 million users in the world, and we're expecting that 700 million people will be using the Metaverse. What this is showing is that the world's changing, right? And one of the biggest changes is AI, where we're expecting that 15 trillion US dollars will be generated by AI by 2030. Okay, so let's relate this to Africa. So in terms of Africa, if we look at it, the size of the African economy, 1.4 billion. 456 million people in Africa have a bank account, so there's still nearly 50% unbanked. In terms of mobile money, so Vodafone, the company I'm from, is also behind M-Pesa and Vodacom. And what you can see is that where Africa has taken over is in mobile money, the leader in mobile money. So gone past bank accounts to mobile money. There's a 768 million mobile money registered accounts at the moment, and there's 3.1 trillion in terms of GDP, right? But if you look at the other side, Africa is the smallest economy in terms of crypto. In terms of share of Bitcoin transactions, 9.3%. And in terms of AI, there's a forecast I read that AI could represent 1.2 trillion in African GDP by 2030. And if we look at where we are now, we're way behind that, but it's a significant opportunity. So this is the one you want to see, right? The people who want to make money want to see this one, right? So what we're looking at is the cryptocurrency market size is now US dollars 2.77 trillion. If I gave this speech 6 months ago, it was 100 trillion, right? So we've seen that since January, just in the last 3 months, there's been a 62% increase in the price of cryptocurrency, or the value of the market. In terms of DeFi, decentralized finance, so it's basically where you can use wallets and smart contracts to do banking and invest and get finance, doubled in the last 3 months. In terms of Bitcoin, 180% increase, right? 180% in the last 12 months. Ethereum, which is another cryptocurrency, has gone up 118%. NFTs, so we just saw NFTs. The market capitalization has trebled. It's now 70 billion. The Bitcoin market cap is now 1.4 trillion, and Ethereum's 474 million. This is what's happening in the world of cryptocurrencies, and there is wealth being created, and institutions are starting to move into this market. The question is, what's happening in Africa? Other things to note, crypto users, so there's 425 million crypto users in the world. In terms of governments, some of the African governments, as well as some of the Western governments, there's 130 countries with central bank digital currencies, and the number of smartphones is going up. right? So what does that mean, right? So we look at this and we're saying, okay, so what about Bitcoin? What about crypto? David, you're crazy. Why are we looking at this? But what does it actually mean? So let's put this in the context of some of the companies you actually know. So Apple, the biggest company, 2.7 trillion. Microsoft, 2.3 trillion. Saudi oil, right, 2 trillion. Alphabet and Google, 1.6 trillion in terms of market capitalization. And Bitcoin is now 1.4 trillion. And I won't guarantee you, but there's a high probability that Bitcoin will be moving up to number 3 or number 2 by the end of this calendar year, right? So it's pretty serious in terms of the numbers. And if you look at cryptocurrency in relation to countries, it's bigger than most countries. So United Kingdom was about fifth in terms of GDP, in terms of 3.1 trillion. But you can see that the crypto market is almost as big as France, it's bigger than Russia and Canada. So the point I'm trying to make is that this is not a joke. This is serious commerce, this is serious economics, and this is serious business, and it's definitely relevant for Africa. If you look at the opportunity in terms of Web3, so Web3 is Bitcoin, but it's also blockchain technology and wallets and smart contracts. 500 billion, IoT 1.1 trillion. But there's two big things leaping out, right? The Metaverse, a 15 trillion, AI, a 15 trillion opportunity by 2030, and the Metaverse, which could be a 5 trillion. And the question is, how much overlap is there between these? So these are all areas that Africa should be getting into. And then the other thing is, how does Africa position? So one thing that we can do is build on the mobile phone, right? One of the biggest success stories has been mobile phone penetration, which has increased significantly since 1990 from single-digit percentages to over 90%. So what if you could connect your mobile phone to blockchain, Web3, and AI? Would that be something that could start to put Africa and the economy into an accelerated position? That's something that the platform that I'm in charge of, PairPoint, does. It links your SIM card to blockchains and digital identities, wallets, and signatures. So that's something offline that I'll provide notes on that is interesting. And then the other thing is, when you drive around, one of the biggest things you're looking for is infrastructure. So could Web3 provide the infrastructure in Africa? And there's some things, so there's some modern terms that, and we haven't got a sort of blockchain audience here, but what this is basically talking about is that you can tokenize assets using Web3, and that those tokens can then be sold, which brings liquidity in, right? So if you want to build roads, or you want to build a metaverse, or you want to build EV charging stations, or you want to build housing, it can all be done using Web3, right? And then you can combine that with AI, and that can then help to sell that. In terms of the metaverse, this is something for consumers, it's something for businesses, it's also something where AI lives. And when we spoke about the headlines that 300 million jobs could be lost by 2030 to AI, what is really interesting about that is that those 300 million jobs can also create jobs, but how is AI going to interact with people? How are you going to interact with an AI robot? It's going to be through the metaverse. So another area which I strongly recommend that Africa and people like yourselves in business start to look at is the metaverse, because as AI grows and that becomes a 15 trillion opportunity, the way it will interact with people will be through the metaverse. And as you've seen, you may have seen with the Apple Pro headset, which is launched, this will also be the new interaction point between people and content, people and NFTs, people and movies, people and social media. It will become the new web browser. It's going to be how you surf and how you identify things. This is definitely an area to get in and a 5 trillion opportunity by 2030. I won't go into the technical slide. I'll probably end, in fact, maybe I'll just address this slide. So how do these technologies come together? So what we're saying from a technological point of view is that you have new technologies that are coming together. Some of them we know, so cloud computing, internet, we've spoken about blockchain, we've spoken about 4G and 5G, there are enterprise business systems, there's mobile and IoT. So these are established technologies. And then now we have things like Web3, Web 2 is your standard internet, but you have Web3 and AI. And basically what's being created is a new digital operating system, which incorporates all of these technologies for customer and business experiences. And that is the basis on which business will need to be built going forwards. So some of the questions I want to end with are these, right? So the question is, can Web3 improve access to financial services? So we've seen that there's still 50% of the population in this region which is unbanked. We've also seen that the region has managed to accelerate in terms of communication, to have high mobile phone penetrations. You know, can Web3, can these wallets that we're talking about, can tokens, can Bitcoin, can Lightning, can Ethereum, can that accelerate financial inclusion? And what I'd say is that a lot of the financial institutions say yes. Right, so there's a big move, as you know, that there was an electronic trading fund that was approved in the USA for Bitcoin earlier this year. And that has been behind a lot of these price increases. Not necessarily because it was a positive signal, but the real thing is that institutional money is starting to move into Web3 and cryptocurrencies. And what that means is that as an investment tool, there's going to be far more liquidity. And that means that as a financial tool, you know, this can grow. So I think the answer to that one is yes, and it's some area I'd look at. Building on mobile money, you know, the next generations of wallets. So the mobile phone and mobile money, as I said, this region is the leader by 1,000,000%, right? It's the leader. And what if you could now start linking the mobile money wallet to cryptocurrency? What if you can start linking the mobile money wallet to the ability to invest or engage in decentralized finance loans or investments? What if you can start linking your mobile phone to AI and the Metaverse? What if that mobile phone is the gateway for businesses and people to start engaging in this new economy and operating system that is emerging? And I believe it is. And I believe that we're moving towards a world of wallets, right? There's been a lot of emphasis on bank accounts and financial services that way, but the wallet is something that is in your mobile phone. It can hold multiple payment credentials, it can hold NFTs, it can hold tokens and banking credentials. So the world of wallets is definitely an area I think that we should look at. Tokenization, we've mentioned of real-world assets. You know, one of the projects I've worked on is tokenizing a hospital in a developing country. It was in Latin America, and basically using those tokens for investment, right? So on one side, you were able to invest in the tokens of this hospital from a community basis to improve the services. But on the other hand, the companies that wanted to provide private healthcare could also invest and buy those tokens. And it was a way of bringing in triple the amount of liquidity that you would in the real world, right? So tokenization of real world assets, community assets, as well as financial assets and retail assets, hotels, you know, it's something that is going to be big. I think the next one is AI. How many of you have heard about ChatGPT? How many of you used it? Okay, how many of you are impressed with it? Yeah, so again, we go back to the discussion that AI is going to penetrate every area of our lives. One of the things I was looking at for a presentation tomorrow in London is about the impact of AI on our jobs, right? You know, AI could be lawyers, it could take legal jobs, it could take judge jobs, it could take HR jobs, it could take operational jobs. There's no end to where industry are starting to position AI. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is how do you position yourselves to move with that direction and not against it. This is one of the biggest opportunities, right? Again, Africa is not best positioned at the moment, but it is in some ways that you don't have the legacy. This is one area I'd strongly advise to look at. It's going to be a $15 trillion US dollar opportunity by 2030. And the other one is the Metaverse, right? So the Metaverse, how many of you know about Facebook changing their name to Meta? Okay, so that was the beginning and the death of the Metaverse, because as soon as they changed their name, nobody wanted to know about it. But actually, the Metaverse didn't go anywhere. So there's now more investment in the Metaverse than ever before. As I said, Apple have started with the Apple Pro headset. When you use that Apple Pro headset, it changes everything. It will replace the mobile phone. You can have a cinema on this headset. You can access all your apps. It's going to change the world. But the key thing is that the metaverse is also the gateway to AI. It's going to be how AI will interact with us. You're going to have the headsets become mobile phones, and mobile phones provide access to the metaverse. It's a new economy. And what it does, there's some important things. I've got 20 seconds left. So there's important things it does. Number one is it removes geography, right? So if you go into a virtual business, a digital business, and it's through the metaverse, you don't need a visa. You don't need to travel, right? You can do it 24/7. And what the metaverse does, it brings things online that you can't do now. And the other thing, the other important things that the metaverse does is it provides us with the ability to do things like education, which previously were the privilege of the rich or the people who happen to be in the right location. Again, I think the metaverse is a key area that needs to be looked at, and it's a big opportunity. I'm out of time. I wish I could have spoken for longer, but thank you for having me.